Hello everyone, welcome to Augmentech. We coach engineering students and working professionals for better career opportunities. After the end of today's tutorial, you'll be able to read a psychometric chart and find all the values from ASHRAE's psychometric chart. In the psychometric chart, first we'll understand how to find dry bulb temperature. Dry bulb temperature is plotted along the horizontal axis. So this axis is the axis of dry bulb temperature. Moving from left to right, the value of dry bulb temperature increases. So these are the lines that represent dry bulb temperature. The dry bulb temperature lines are straight but not exactly parallel and inclined slightly to the left. It might appear to one that these lines are vertically straight, but in reality they are inclined slightly towards left. Next is humidity ratio. Humidity ratio is plotted along the vertical axis on the right hand side of the chart. So here you can see this is the line of humidity ratio. On moving from bottom to top, the value of humidity ratio increases. So these are the lines showing the humidity ratio. The scale is uniform with horizontal lines parallel. So these lines are exactly parallel and equally spaced. Specific volume. Specific volume lines appear inclined from the upper left to the lower right. These are the lines that represent specific volume. These lines start from the upper left and end at bottom right. These lines are not exactly parallel. It might appear to you in psychometric chart that the lines of specific volume are exactly parallel, but in reality they are not. Specific volume scale is based on unit mass of dry air and not unit mass of moist air. The sample of air taken for the calculation of specific volume from psychometric chart is the sample of unit mass of dry air and not the unit mass of moist air. So this is a point to keep in mind while calculating the value of specific volume from psychometric chart. Wet bulb temperature. These are the lines that shows wet bulb temperature in psychometric chart. The wet bulb temperature lines are not parallel. Also, the spacing of the wet bulb lines is not uniform. You can see in the psychometric chart, these lines are not equally spaced. Instead, there is an irregularity of distance between the lines of wet bulb temperature. Relative humidity. Relative humidity lines are shapes similar to the saturation curve. This is the saturation curve part of psychometric chart. The relative humidity curve looks pretty much similar in shape as that of saturation curve. And these curves appear at regular intervals. Enthalpy. Enthalpy scale is drawn obliquely on the left of the chart. Enthalpy lines inclined left to the right. So this is how an enthalpy line looks like in psychometric chart. Dew point temperature. Dew point temperature is drawn horizontal on the chart. So this is the line of dew point temperature. It is to be noted that humidity ratio lines and dew point temperature lines, they both are horizontal. However, the difference is that humidity ratio lines are exactly parallel and equally spaced. In case of dew point temperature, it's different. Now it's time to summarize all the parameters of psychometric chart. Keep in mind that with enough practice, it becomes easier and less time consuming to find values from psychometric chart. So this is how dry bulb temperature lines look like. Humidity ratio lines, specific volume, wet bulb temperature lines, relative humidity lines, enthalpy, and finally dew point temperature. Now we'll do a sample problem to understand how to find the value of psychometric parameters from ASHRAE's psychometric chart. To do so, we need to know any of the two basic parameters. Over here, it is mentioned that the air leaves a cooling coil is at 70°F dry bulb temperature and 60°F wet bulb temperature. So we'll make use of this condition and find all other remaining psychometric values. So dry bulb temperature, as already mentioned, is 70°F. So we'll find the 70°F on the dry bulb temperature line. And from here, we need to draw a dry bulb temperature line which is vertical. Next is to find the value of wet bulb temperature 60°F. So 60°F for wet bulb temperature lies over here. We need to draw a line parallel to wet bulb temperature for this value. So this is how that line looks like. These two intersect at this point. Now to find humidity ratio, we draw a line from this intersection point to the humidity ratio line. So we end up getting the value as 0.009, which we'll mention over here. Now we'll find relative humidity. To do so, we need to draw a line from this intersection point parallel to relative humidity line. So this is how that line looks like. If you see clearly, the value of this relative humidity line lies between 50% and 60%. So it's more or less very close to 56.1%. So we'll take that value. Now we find the specific enthalpy. To do so, we need to find the line of specific enthalpy, which is here. And from this intersection point, draw a line to the specific enthalpy line. So this is how that line looks like, and it gives us the value of something between 25 and 30, which is fairly close to 26.3. So we'll take that value. Next, we find specific volume. Again, from this intersection point, we need to draw a line parallel to specific volume line. Over here, this is mentioned as 13.5. This is somewhere over here 13, and this is 14 for specific volume. So this line lies fairly close to 13.65. So we'll take that value of specific volume. Now we find lastly dew point temperature. So we draw a line of dew point temperature from this point to the curve of dew point temperature, which is this. So we get the value as 53.7°F. So this is a sample problem to show how to find values of psychometric parameters from ASHRAE's psychometric chart if any two values are known. Hope you have understood how to use psychometric chart. To keep learning from us continuously, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon.